And it is Mr. Hurt, the head public relations person for Central Texas. This is ridiculous. It's about, he's a nice guy, but he just watch the whole thing, and we'll repeat some of the things he says for you. Street from the Texas Department of Transportation. And we're fixing to go over there and talk to Mr. Hurt, their head person in public relations. We suspect that that is a camera pod. I've been telling everybody that those are what they plan to put cameras on, because in other cities I've seen poles just like that with a question mark wire, a lightning rod with cameras. We're fixing to go over and find out right now. Sir, what's your position, Mr. Hurt, here at the Department of Transportation?
I'm the Public Affairs Officer.
Alex Jones, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're doing a story about Big Brother. And we know that in San Antonio and Dallas and Houston, they're putting up quite a few cameras. Can you tell us exactly what the name of these systems are and where they're integrated, where the video monitors are, and exactly what it's for?
Well, they go by different names. San Antonio calls theirs Trans Guide, and Houston calls theirs Trans Star, and each city has a different name for their own particular setup. What it is, it's called an Intelligent Transportation System, or ITS, and it uses a
smart highways.
Smart highways, yeah. It uses an array of changeable message signboards along with closed-circuit television cameras, sensors that are built into the road, all of which are monitored at a remote location to give traffic management people a clear picture of what's going on in the city as a whole at any given moment.
So it's actually better than helicopters, because you can just punch a button and see any area you wish.
Right. They actually monitor this at a traffic management center that looks very much like mission control at NASA, where they've got banks of people sitting behind computer terminals, but they also have a large display in the front of the room that's like a schematic map of the city.
Mr. Hurt, do you know how many cameras Houston or San Antonio has?
No, not just right offhand. On the selected roadways, they're about every eighth of a mile. There are quite a few of them.
Hundreds.
Yeah, I think San Antonio right now has about probably 200 some odd miles that are under camera.
So every eighth of a mile, we're talking about thousands of cameras.
Well, I'm not sure in the entire system if they're every eighth of a mile, but in the locations where they're particularly congested, where you have problems. Yeah, that's exactly right. And when we start out here, we'll have some online, at least a couple by August of this year, down around the upper-lower level split, and we'll just monitor them here at our district office. What we ultimately hope to do is build a traffic management center in a couple of years, where we'll be there, the police department will be there, fire department, EMS, the Capital Metro.
Just a whole integrated system.
Right, we'll all be together.
I've seen them putting up poles. You were saying, Mr. Hurt, that right across the street here is a pole that they're planning to put a camera on.
Right. What we've got is the poles, 183, you can see a lot of them. There's some on Interstate 35. They'll mount the cameras on those. The little question mark shaped wire that comes out of it is a lightning arrestor. It's supposed to be like a lightning rod.
I've seen those. I've seen the poles with the cameras on Arnia, and they have like a little question mark.
Yeah, we don't have any cameras mounted yet, but those poles are where they'll be.
I've seen a few cameras down by y'all's main office off 35.
Right.
I mean off 35th Street.
Right.
What are those cameras?
We've done some testing of different types of cameras to see which ones we like the best.
So that's a testing area.
Right.
Now listen very carefully to the head of the Texas Department of Transportation Public Relations person, Mr. Hurt. He was a nice person and pretty honest with us, but he would try to say, oh, well, it's for safety, it's for EMS, it's for this, it's for that. And then later off camera, he says, well, yes, we plan to give tickets with these cameras. That is a federal plan. It's done in California. Then we turn the cameras back on, and he admits it, but not like he did off camera. But we'll get to some other clips. But he tries to act like it's all for safety and all this other BS. That'd be fine if the government could be trusted. This is about tracking and controlling. It is about control of populations. Everything is done with the best of intentions, and most of the people pushing at the low levels like Mr. Hurt think they're doing that. But we need to think about our liberties. Can this government be trusted? Can the IRS be trusted with these tools? Can they be trusted with national ID cards, thumb scanning? It just goes on and on. Now, the important point for everybody to note here is the contradiction. Mr. Hurt says that they're not planning to watch people drive around town, that this is all for EMS, all for fire, all for police. Just like with Starflight here locally, for surveillance, they got you to pass the Travis County bond package under the guise of Starflight, but then the sheriff on tape and many others admit that they're going to be using these 2 new helicopters for surveillance. Now, he says that they're not going to use it for that, and then later contradicts himself. It's called doublespeak. What are those cameras?
We've done some testing of different types of cameras to see which ones we like the best.
So that's a testing area.
Right. But what it's not going to be is a situation where somebody's going to be sitting there watching you drive around town. It's basically to monitor traffic as a whole in
wreck,
certain
a
locations.
fire,
Right.
or if...
it's not going to monitor speed as far as...
what about fugitives? I mean, that might help in some of those cases.
Well, I suppose you could use it for that, but that's not its intended purpose. It's a traffic management tool.
You were saying, Mr. Hurt, that this is mainly just for emergencies and clearing up traffic and directing people around traffic, which sounds great. But I would say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think we need cameras, but the problem is I don't trust our federal government, and I think any systems we put in, they can easily step in and take control of for whatever they wish. And take California, for instance, and some other states where they take snapshots with snapshot cameras, snapshot video cameras, and then mail you a ticket. Now, certainly you could say, well, you were breaking the law, but I really don't just like the whole climate that I see growing around the country. What would you say to that?
Well, this is not a law enforcement tool. It's not something, I think that law enforcement would be disappointed if they actually, and they will be part of the, but I mean, if they look at the camera and see the picture, it's not like they're going to see your face. It's really more of a broad view of an entire stretch of a highway. It's not.
Some of these cameras in San Antonio and Houston do have zoom capability, though, don't they?
Right, and we will have some zoom capability. We and pan, tilt, all of that, you know, to be able to get an entire look at a problem area. But as far as is being used to give you a ticket, that's not the purpose, and I don't see that being the purpose. It's a traffic management tool, and it's all part of an entire complex where we've already got sensors put in the road in parts of Interstate 35, and what it does, it tells how fast the traffic is moving.
That's the little black rubber bands that go across the street?
No, those are counters. What you see, it's like a loop. It's like it's been cut into the concrete down around 51st Street or in front of the airport. You'll see like a square. It's been cut into the concrete.
So the black bands are counters?
Those are traffic counters, right.
Well, that's all very understandable and very reasonable and needed to, I'm sure, in the modern age, control roads, find out where you need more roads, all that. The point I keep making is that I know the federal government gives Texas and most of the states a lot of its highway funds.
Quite a bit, yeah.
And sends along recommendations and advisors and ideas that they want implemented. And I just see the trend that's going on nationally of federal control. Just to give you an example, just a month ago I went to San Antonio with Chief Ale Philippus, who threw out the Delta Force for attempting to bribe him. And if you think I'm kidding you can call down there and ask them. The Delta Force was going to train here, and our little TV show and my radio show were able to stop them from training here. And I know that's not your purview and your area. I just want to communicate to y'all that that is our fear. We'll put in these systems that are there to help the public, that are there to ensure safety, and that law enforcement will become more and more under federal control. You say that law enforcement, though, will be stationed at the main center that y'all plan to construct?
Well, there'll be a representative of the police department, maybe several, and the object there is to be able to identify and dispatch, identify the type of problem they may have and dispatch even before somebody dials 911. They'll be able to say, we've had an accident there.
What about EMS?
EMS will be there. The fire department will be there. Capital Metro will be there. It's going to be a joint center where all of us are there that are involved in traffic management.